Welcome to the City Show. Pat O'Meara here. I mispronounced my own last name. Pat O'Meara here with the City Show on GGR. As I say every week, download the Live 365 app. Tell your friends, tell your mother's friends, tell your dad's friends, tell your friend's friends, tell strangers. Tell anybody you think you need to tell to download the Live 365 app. You got my program there. You got the Jersey City programs there. You got NJCU. We got another month. We'll start putting our high school teams together. They'll start doing their shows. And there's a ton of other programming on Live 365. There's music. There's podcasts. It's not just me on Live 365. You do have GGR, but there's a lot of radio there. Radio has gone completely digital now since my years in the early 90s when I was doing wrestling radio. Everything was on the AM band back then. Now it's all digital. You listen on your phone, listen on your Alexa, your Siri, or whatever speaker phones you have or speakers. A lot of ways to get to Live 365. It's not just like the old days with the radio. So please, get a chance. Download the app. I'm assuming if you're listening, you've downloaded the app. What are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about my buddy, Bill O'Day, Mr. Conductor, Bill O'Day, and how he's going to straighten out the path. There needs to be accountability, Mr. O'Day says, in an agency he has no authority over. But we'll talk about that. And we're going to talk about the path and its relationship with Jersey City. You can't keep attacking the path when we keep developing and developing and developing, and the path is only so big it's going to get. We're going to talk about MLK and bike lanes. They came out hard against bike lanes on MLK, which is probably time the rest of the city does also. We'll go through all the reasons why, and they're all legitimate. And you want to start talking about, did we become a city of snowflakes in Jersey City? We can't cross the street unless we have some assistance from some governmental entity. We can't ride a bike unless it's protected bike lane. We'll go through all that. We'll talk about candidates running for election in Jersey City and how they keep bad-mouthing Phillip in the city, how bad the city of Jersey City is. Makes me wonder how did we elect Phillip 2 times, actually 3 times, but let's not count the first mayoral 4 years, but how, if he was doing such a bad job, how did we re-elect this guy twice? Steve Colbert has been canceled by CBS. We're going to get into that. There's a lot of reasons why they canceled Steve Colbert. My buddy Mukherji, he backed down on an all-appointed Jersey City Education Board. We have the Democratic Governors Association did a poll on what Jersey residents would like, and it seems the poll numbers are all 53%. And I want to talk about the demise of Central Avenue in the Heights. How ugly it has become. And it's amazing when you look at Bergen Avenue or even Summit Avenue going into Union City. Central Avenue, Summit Avenue going to Union City. It's amazing what the difference is. What happened to Central Avenue? There's a lack of leadership there. And we'll talk about the candidates, how much money they got on hand here for Jersey City. We have to start getting into Hoboken also. Right now, we're going to take a break. We're going to break for commercial. You'll listen to City Show Radio here on GGR. We'll be right back.
Comprehensive healthcare is here, here, and here. RWJ Barnabas Health is healing, enhancing, and investing in Hudson County with its 2 newest locations, Hoboken and Exchange Place. Within walking distance or accessible by mass transit, our locations combine convenience with primary and specialty care, including cardiology, women's health, orthopedics, cancer care, and more. Let's be healthy together.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
Amelia here on GGR with the City Show. That was a commercial for John Burns, my buddy Johnny Burns here on 787 Tunley Avenue. If you're getting a headstone or a plaque, well, say a headstone, say with a headstone or something. When I don't want to say plaque like you give somebody one in a race or something like that. These monuments, plaques, headstones, monument plaques, huge, like the World War II memorial in North Bergen and Braddock Park. What a memorial. If you get a chance, just take a ride to Braddock Park to see the World War II, the World Wars memorials they have there. Excellent craftsmanship, and also a really excellent person. He's a better person than his craftsmanship. He's the guy we should put a monument up to John Burns in Jersey City. But let's get to Billy O'Day. My buddy Bill O'Day has been a long history in Jersey City. Yeah, I'm looking at the race for mayor. I'm handicapping it. I see it's O'Day, McGreevy, and Solomon. Joyce would have to. She's really got to get on a horse and get things going. And the other two candidates, Masab Ali, I don't think it's his time yet. I could be wrong, but I've only been doing this for like 30 years in Jersey City. And you got the young lady, Jersey City police officer. She's running, but she's not going to raise any money or funds or anything. So, a series of a candidate you are. But Bill is certainly one of the front runners. He's one of the. He's going to be one of the three. I guarantee he's in a runoff. Bill has decided if he becomes the mayor, he's going to have accountability with the PATH. Now, I want to explain the PATH. That is an agency that's 50-50 between the state of New Jersey and New York. It's autonomous, but with all autonomous, any government agency, there's a lot of political intrigue there and pull. And I think since Mayor Fulop has been the mayor of Jersey City for the last 12 years, he has fought, he has sued, he's received some concessions from the PATH, but there is not a hell of a lot you can do. And it isn't a case that the PATH doesn't want to work with its communities. I think to the point in Jersey City, because everybody's talking about schedules and time and trains, the frequency of the trains. I personally haven't ridden the PATH, I'm going to say, maybe 30 years. Whenever Hector Macho, Camacho, and Rosario had the fight in the garden, that was the last time I was on the PATH. We went to that fight at the Madison Square Garden. And that was a story in itself, like a riot broke out. Rosario actually won that, but Camacho got the decision. There's like a riot in the Madison Square Garden. I'm trying to get out of the garden. People are fighting all over the place. I actually was in the ring. I cut through the ring. My brother-in-law and I and a guy named Mike Sotomore were trying to get out of here before we get caught up in a riot. And I looked at it, let's just go through the ring. I climb in the ring. I'm running across the damn thing. I rip my pants in half. I'm just trying to get out of here before we all get into this riot or become part of this riot. But it's been a long time since I've taken the PATH. But the PATH, as it once was known as the tubes here in Jersey City, there isn't a lot of expansion you can do. Because if you ever stood at the platform, faced going east towards New York, you see how the tracks all bend in to the tube. Again, that was the name of it, the tubes, until a deal was made back somewhere in the late 60s to have the Port Authority take over the tubes. And it changed. We got a new PATH building on Journal Square, which was the death knell for Journal Square when they built the PATH Center. And part of that deal was the World Trade Center. I remember, I think it was Brendan Byrne. At first, they were going to put it on the other side of New York City. Then they put it on the Hudson River side. At least Brendan Byrne said, well, at least we could see the damn thing from here because Jersey was involved now. The tracks all bend in to the tube, the tunnel. You're not expanding going east, the platforms or the station. And the back end, the west side, where the Lowe's Theater is, it goes under the boulevard there. That's actually a bridge. People don't realize that. Most don't realize that's a bridge you're riding over when you're going past the Lowe's Theater. Yeah, I guess you could extend the platform out there, but the tube, the tunnel, is only so big. And there's only so many trains you're going to run through there at a time. And the real problem is the PATH service. Even when I was a kid, I was a patrol boy on Senate Street and Broadway, that walkover bridge, when I was a kid at PS 23. And I would be there in the morning, and I would see the PATH trains going, and the people were like packed in there, like you see the sardines. And it hasn't gotten any better. Actually, it's got quite worse since then. The more we keep developing, the worse it gets for the PATH. You look at what's going on in Jersey City at Journal Square now, and Journal Square area by Van Ripe and down by Pavonia and Summit. There are skyscrapers there. There are 30-story buildings, 40-story building. You got the three towers there at Pavonia and Summit. You got 2 towers going up on the old Hotel of the Square site. across from the Lowe's Theater. And there's about another 12, 20, 30-story buildings either completed or near completion. In the last 2 years, a ton of high-rises have been built there. And one of the selling points of these high-rises is the path. You can live in Jersey City, jump on the path, and be in New York City in 5 minutes. That's not really true anymore. That path is packed. It is packed when it gets to Journal Square. If you're lucky, you might get on the train. Then it goes down to downtown Jersey City Exchange Place, and it's already packed already. So they're constantly crying for more trains. I just don't know if it's possible to bring more trains. I say, maybe one of the things I'll do, I'll get a rep from the path, because I know they warned the city of Jersey City over the years. Says, guys, you got to slow down on the development here. We don't have the room, the train space, or the track space to accommodate the development that's going on. And that's just Jersey City. So I know Newark, it's not developing to the rate of Jersey City, but there is development going on there. And even in Jersey City, we're talking about trying to get a path stop on West Side Avenue, right off of Broadway there. When I was a kid, for that matter, I got a picture in my phone. I believe it's my mother and I, somewhere in the very early 60s, coming home from school. We used to be able to walk across the tracks there at West Side. You'd walk, come down Broadway, make a right, West Side Avenue, and there were gates there. The trains would go by. The gates would open. You could cross over. And when I was a kid, the path would stop there. And the conductor guy would get out with like little wooden steps, drop the steps, and a few people would get off there, and off they would continue on to Journal Square. But there was a stop there at one time, with gates and all, at West Side, right between Broadway and Newark Avenue. There was a stop. We'd cross over, and we'd walk home. We'd walk along the tracks, my mother and I. And I grew up along the tracks. And we'd get home and safely, even though we were walking along tracks with railroad cars and all. But there was a stop there. I don't think that'll ever happen again, but they're marketing a lot of developing the West Side Avenue there, of West side of Jersey City, West Side Avenue, where the old Pacinos were. There's a lot of development going on there. And again, there's a lot of predication on you could just get on a path. No, you can't. The path is packed. And you could talk about trying to add some more trains. You may want to talk about trying to extend the platform. You can't extend it east, maybe west, but I just don't know how many more trains you can run through that one tunnel. Yeah, one tunnel each direction. So somewhere along the line, the reality is going to be we just can't put any more development on Journal Square with the goal of them being able to commute through the path, which is our only subway system. We try to compete with New York City. We don't have a subway system. We don't have mass transit. We have like zero transit. That's what we have. Our buses are sporadic at best, especially since they're run by New Jersey Transit, which is probably the worst transportation agency in the nation. No respect for money. They swim in red ink. Years ago when I was a kid, every main street had a bus, and they weren't government run. They were private. But New Jersey Transit ran them all out of business because New Jersey Transit had no respect for money because it's your money. They need more money. They just reach into your pocket. Whether you ride the train or the bus, doesn't matter. You pay. Over 75% of New Jersey Transit's budget is subsidized by your taxpayer dollars. Every fare on New Jersey Transit, on the train, on the bus, on the light rail, 75% is paid by taxpayers. People who don't ride the path or take the buses. People who don't even live up here. They might live down in South Jersey, nowhere near the trains and the light rails we have here. But they're paying for it, which is wrong. That should all be paid for by fares. But if they had to pay for it by fares, people would be jumping out of windows if they had to pay the real fare. The same thing with the ferries. You're getting a ferry ticket, I think it's like $12. Well, like $24 is actually subsidized. I've never taken a ferry, and I'm paying for it. So that's wrong. But when we look at transit, and we keep looking at path for development reasons, that's not the answer anymore. I don't think it can handle any more capacity. It's at capacity. I don't think it can handle anymore. But I will go out after the show today. I'll reach out for the path, see if we can get a guest for the next week or the week after to find out just how bad the future of commuting is going to be. And again, I don't see it as the path's fault. I see it as the city of Jersey City. Maybe you want to throw the whole state in there. But Jersey City is not making it any better for the path by constantly developing huge buildings, 30, 40 stories, and all predicated on the path as being the mode of transportation. And like I said, that's our only subway, and it doesn't go far. It goes from Jersey City across the river, the Hudson River. That's it. The rest of it's all surface transportation, which we completely screwed up here in Jersey City. Like I said, there was a time we had a Bergen Avenue bus, we had a Kennedy Boulevard bus, Montgomery Street bus, Central Avenue bus, Garfield Avenue bus. I'm forgetting buses. The 440 Shopper. We had every main street had its transportation. Now that's all gone. Now getting back to Bill, will Bill have any impact? He can talk to him, but he has, as the mayor of Jersey City, has absolutely no authority over the path. It's a bi-state autonomous agency. That, from what I can say, when I compare it to New Jersey Transit, the path is the star. And at one time, the Port Authority was the go-to transportation development. When they were talking about building the World Trade Center, they went to the path, the Port Authority, to build it. They were the guys at one time, and they probably still are. But we're so frustrated with transportation, especially from New Jersey Transit, it kind of rolls over into the path. Now, the path maintains their tracks, they maintain their trains, they do a better job with their trains than New Jersey Transit does, from what I can see. But their infrastructure, the tubes go back to my days, and long before my days for that matter. But I remember the tubes as a kid. Where O'Day's going to go and what he's going to try to get the people at the Port Authority to do is to be seen. But if anybody could do it, it's Mr. Conductor, Bill O'Day. All right, we're going to break for commercial. You're listening to The City Show. I'll be right back.
No one plans on heart disease, but everyone should have a plan for it. We help patients of all lifestyles and medical histories plan for healthy hearts. We offer convenient screenings without judgment, hundreds of preventive programs, and women's heart specialists. And we're the largest cardiac surgery program in New Jersey. Make plans for a healthy heart with RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
We're back. City Show, Pat O'Melia here. Just listen to Consumer Carpets. Good guy Nelson there on Kennedy Boulevard. He does more than carpets, too. He does hardwood floors, veneers, tiles, anything you put on the floor, he has. Big showroom up there. His main cuisine is, of course, carpets. He has done all the carpeting. We have a huge carpet here in the studio. Oh, man, it's got to be about, 30 by 20 feet in the studio proper area. He's done all the carpets in the studios, all the carpets in my home, all the hardwood floors in my home. Does quality work, and he does it all, not just in Jersey City. He'll go South Jersey, wherever the job calls. And if you want quality service, that's Consumer Carpets. MLK. Mayor Fulop and his love for bike lanes decided he was going to put a bike lane in on MLK Drive. Forgot to talk to the people on MLK Drive and the residents there. And they got wind of it, and they decided to talk. They went to the council meeting, and with a resounding, we don't want a bike lane on MLK. And you know what? They're right. It's about time the rest of the city stood up and said, listen, we don't want the bike lane. To a degree, we did in the Heights with the Manhattan Avenue. They were going to make Manhattan Avenue a one-way. Half it would have become a bike lane. It was going to be a one-way going east. It was a ridiculous idea. Anybody who's in the infrastructure department of Jersey City who thought this was a good idea is a friggin' idiot. I mean, they have no idea of traffic and infrastructure. If they thought converting Manhattan Avenue to a one-way and half of it being a bike lane would be one way, and if you wanted to go left, say you got a tractor trailer, you're making deliveries on Central Avenue, you had to come down Manhattan Avenue East, and you want to try to make the left. But we took your swing distance away. You can't swing out to make the left-hand turn if you got a tractor trailer because we have a bike lane. Not only that, we put a bike lane on Central in front of the Stop and Shop. That was the plan. So you even have a left swing radius. And then we wanted to convert Franklin Street into a one-way going west with half of that being a bike lane. It was so asinine. And if we're paying people in the infrastructure department to come up with this brainstorm, they should all be fired. But what the bottom line is, like the people on MLK Drive said, we don't want the bike lane. And, they see it all over the city. These bike lanes aren't utilized. It's not, bikes aren't a 24/7, 365 mode of transportation. And at least finally, the people on MLK stood up and said, no, we don't want the bike lane. You didn't ask us, but we're going to tell you we don't want the bike lane. And that's the same thing that needs to be done on Palisades Avenue. Again, we're full up in his bike lane syndrome he has. He wants to convert that. And that's going to tighten up Palisade Avenue, which is a tough road as it is, but he wants to put his bike lanes there. You see the striping he's doing on Summit Avenue, going towards Five Corners? It looks like somebody would at any idea of that vehicles right on this road started laying out how the bike lanes are. It's so asinine. The bottom line is, like the people on MLK in the surrounding area said, we don't want the bike lane. And they made some very good points as to why, and they're all accurate. It impinges upon the seniors' transportation because they also wanted to make MLK not only a bike lane, they wanted to make it one way. But what Jersey City is great at, who's ever running infrastructure, they're great at creating traffic. They're great at slowing the capability of going across this city. Philip was talking about being a 15-minute walk city. You can't drive across this city unless you got an hour and a half because it is so screwed up between bike lanes and traffic, and now we're doing no right on red. Yeah, let's slow up a little bit more. Let's slow it up a little. Maybe we should just make no turns. Just all you can do is go straight. You can't make any turns in Jersey City. Whatever, full up a minute. Now, listen, I don't sound like I'm beating up on Steve. I could be a supporter of his and a friend of his, but I don't have to agree with him all the time. He is 100% wrong with these bike lanes. For that matter, I can't remember the last time I'd seen Philip on a bike. I'd seen Philip on SUVs, getting out and out of his SUV. I don't see him riding a friggin' bike. And you know what? He doesn't have a problem parking because he's the mayor of Jersey City. He doesn't have these problems you and I do. I'm sure he's got a police package in his SUV. He turns the lights on. Now I'm mayor cop, and you got to get out of my way. He doesn't have the same problems we do. He is entitled. That's what he is. He's entitled because he's the mayor. That was one of the things they brought up. The seniors, they got to get their senior buses. So in some cases, they have to walk a block down to the next block because we want to turn MLK into one way. We got to turn another block of one way going the other way. The school buses, dropping off the kids. There's a lot of schools up in the MLK. Plus the student dropper. You're dropping off your kids. No, this doesn't work. Only in the mind of the infrastructure department does this work. Because I tell you, first off, they don't live up there. And I guarantee you they're not biking around either. They don't take any consideration into police, fire department, ambulances, first responders. No thought goes into this. We have been, our population in Jersey City was larger before. And we all managed to get around Jersey City the way it is set up. For the most part, Jersey City is a bunch of one-lane roads in each direction. Very few do you have two lanes in each direction. Probably Montgomery Street, Kennedy Boulevard, Washington Street. I think that's it. Can't think of any other two lanes each direction in Jersey City. I might be forgetting one. Not counting Route 440 or 1 and 9. I think that might be it. That's probably something else. But again, nobody considers the emergency equipment. Nobody considers deliveries that are being made to stores. Nobody even considers the businesses, the impact this would have on the businesses on MLK, which after years and years, and I'll give full of credit for this, the renaissance has started to occur up on MLK Drive. It is starting to breathe again. It's getting back to like it was when it was Jackson Avenue, where there were stores all over, and it was a major shopping district. Fulop has breathed there back in MLK. There is a renaissance going on. And we built the annex there. He's done a lot. Kind of followed up on what Glenn D. Cunningham did and Brett Schundler with the hub. Man, Cunningham wanted that hub to be successful. I'll never forget the time with Glenn, Gene Drake, myself, and Sandy up there. I thought Glenn was going to get to a fist fight with the guy that ran the supermarket there. Again, nobody even considered the effect it would have on local businesses, making it a one-way with the bike lanes. And again, nobody spoke to anybody. And, of course, parking. Yeah, you lose parking. And the way the city sets it up is so stupid also. They'll have the sidewalk, then they'll have the bike lane, then they'll put these plastic boulder rods in, then the cars park along the boulder rods. So the cars, this is what they have, protected bike lane. The parked cars are the protection. But even that is a problem. In Brooklyn, they're pulling them out because you can't see when somebody's cutting between the parked cars crossing the street, they can't see the people on the bikes. And that's one of the kids just got hit on a bike in Brooklyn. And the neighborhood there was saying for the longest time, listen, we don't want this bike lane. We don't want this bike lane. Now they're taking it out, which is probably something we should look at here. But first, we need to stop it. And kudos to the people at MLK, Pam Johnson, Charlie Maynor, my old buddy. I haven't seen Charlie in a long time. Jeff Dublin was up there. They all spoke out against it. We need to start speaking out against this. I've been doing it for years. Bike JC, done some snowflakes there too. They can't ride a bike. I'm going to get into that with the snowflakes. And the other thing that everybody on MLK Drive realized and understand, as we all see in Jersey City, these bike lanes aren't used. They are way underutilized. They're not, as I said before, they're not a 24/7, 365 mode of transportation. If it's a hot day like this week, it's going back up to damn near 100 degrees. You're not biking at 100 degrees. It's too effing hot. You're not biking when it's snowing. You're not biking when it's 10 degrees outside. You're not biking after it snowed and it's icy out there. But the infrastructure that we pay to put in is 24/7, 365. And it just tightens up all the roads, and it just backs everything up. And as I said, you were joking around, and it became an interesting point. How are you snow plowing these bike lanes? How are you street sweeping these bike lanes? So we got little bikes with plows on them or something? It was a good idea. It was the woke mentality. Well, let's try to appease everybody. 1 in 30 people bike, probably less than that, probably 1 in 50. Yeah, there's a graph I think I have on my phone. Less than, I think it was 6% of the population of New Jersey actually bike to work, 6%. But we're dedicating major infrastructure for lanes that we don't use. And you and I see it. Yeah, I know Amy Wilson, I think it was last week, she was talking about somebody on an e-bike riding on a sidewalk when there was a protected bike lane right there. Yeah, first off, people on the bikes and e-bikes, they don't care anyway. They just want to get from point A to point B. So that's why we need to have we need like bike enforcement. We need the bike patrol. Maybe they have the parking authorities take this on, where they enforce the rules of the road on people on bikes. And as I said a couple of weeks ago, let's insure them, let's register them, let's make some bucks on this. But we want to make some bucks? Stop putting in the friggin' bike lanes that nobody wants. The minority of people who are craving a bike lane is very small. If you went up to any referendum on a bike lane, it would lose. It would lose hands down. But nobody wants the damn thing. When you look at thousands of cars and a handful of bikes, there's your balance. There's your votes. People say they vote with their feet. Here we're voting with our wheels. Cars versus bikes. There's no denying the overwhelming numbers. So let's just stop this. And again, kudos to the people at MLK Drive and the surrounding streets. They stood up. They said, we're not the rest of this city. We're not putting up with your BS here. We don't want your bike lanes. We don't need your bike lanes. We've been riding bikes for years and years and years without a bike lane. We've been going up and down MLK Drive, going back to Jackson Avenue, both directions, lane each side. Nobody had a problem. What we have here with these bike lanes and the infrastructure problem is a solution looking for a problem. This is a city. This isn't the suburbs. This is the city. The bike lanes don't work. And again, most of us rode bikes in our childhood, some still do today, and we did it all without bike lanes. And it was even worse in the old days when I was a kid. We didn't have ABS brakes. We didn't have these motion detectors. We didn't have lane detectors. We didn't have all these sensors in these cars. Back then, we had bad brakes, shifter on the column, bad visuals through the windshields. Yeah, we didn't have what we have here today. And actually, in the old days, we rode against traffic. We used to make eye contact with the person. You'd see them, we'd make contact and say, I'm on a bike, you're in a car. We understood. We don't need all of this. The city didn't become a city of snowflakes, where we need the government to hold our hand so we can cross the street, which in essence is what we're doing with these bump outs. But let's break for commercial, and I'll come back with snowflakes. You're listening to The City Show. I'll be right back.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers a quality of life you deserve in one of our many high-rise towers. With amenities such as the on-site Newport Path, light rail, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Kohl's, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams and Acme Supermarket are just outside your front door. A health and fitness center, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. Enjoy the New York skyline from our waterfront and various parks. Manhattan is just one path stop away, or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Looking to visit? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. For more information, visit us at newportnj.com. Make lasting memories to cherish forever. It's incredible. It's you, Newport. Live like you want.
You're watching The City. You're listening to The City Show here on GGR. I'm Pat O'Melia. I just went on a rant about bikes. Now I'm going to go a rant about probably the people who ride the bikes. The snowflakes. The people who can't ride a bike in Jersey City unless they're in a lane. Well, at least their intention is to be in a lane, but they're not in it, as you can see. I'm going to talk about Central Avenue soon. Central Avenue is full of e-bikes. It's probably as bad in Hoboken. They're cracking down on e-bikes here. There's no rhyme or reason, or they're just lawless with the e-bikes. They're not even bicycles anymore. It's all the e-bikes. But the problem here is we have a group. I don't want to say the whole city, but it makes it look like we are. We used to be a blue-collar city, hard-working city, and a tough city. Now, it seems we have a lot of snowflakes here. They can't cross the street. And maybe it comes back from when we were kids. When I was a kid, I was a patrol boy, and I crossed the kids. And I was like, 12. And I had my white belt with my silver badge. It was my job to get those kids across the street safely so they can get home. Now we're paying people to do that, or we have cops doing that. But me, 12, 13-year-old Pat, was doing this. And you know what? I did it for years. And every kid made it across that street. I never lost one kid crossing that street because I knew how to cross the street. I even had a stop sign at the end. They gave me a little stop sign I would hold. But I knew I could look. And I said, no cars coming. All right, kids, cross the street. Once you're on the street, you're on your own. Good luck. God bless you. I never lost a kid. I was so effing good. They put me on the footbridge because there was problems over there. They put me on one side and my buddy Norman Turcott. I remember when one kid was train surfing, and that turned out that was bad. There was a bad ending there. But they put us over there because there was lawlessness with these kids. The kids just didn't know how to cross over the bridge for whatever reason. They put us there. And well, you know what? Every kid got over that bridge safely. And we got them across Broadway, over the bridge, and across Newark Avenue to Points West, wherever the hell they were going. And you know what? They made it because next day we would see them all again. Now, I got crossing guards like a mile away from the school, still crossing kids. All we had to do was cross them, get them off school property. After that, you're on your own, and you were, and they all made it. It was amazing. We could walk on a sidewalk. And we had these great songs like, cross in between, cross at the green, not in between. It was a song that stuck in your head. We learned how to do this. Kids, 8 years old, would realize, I can't cross against that light. I got to wait till the light was green for me. And we all knew this. But now, I got crossing guards, up on Congress Street, crossing kids. How many crossing guards do we need? At some point, you got to let these kids on their own. They got to explore. Got to explore their way home. That's what we did. And now, because we cross these kids, I think, from the school almost to their friggin' doorway of their house, they don't know how to do things on their own. They can't cross the street, which is why the county and the city keeps putting these bump outs. You cross again, we only have one lane each direction for the most part in Jersey City. We put in these bump outs, narrowing the width of the street so it'll give you a better chance of crossing. You had a good chance before because we did it for friggin' 100 years or so. On Central, on Kennedy Boulevard, on Palisade. We all crossed it. The only one with an issue was sometimes was Journal Square, because Journal Square was wide. You had to be Jesse Owens to do that in one light to cross Journal Square in the old days. Yeah, but that's why they put those islands there. Because you couldn't make it, you'd wait on the island. Unless you were one of those bad kids that looked and said, I'm going to cut out or shoot out there now. But we weren't, none of those bad kids weren't around back then. You see a few, but mostly we hung out on the island, light changed, and then we finally crossed. But as far as crossing Central or the Boulevard or Palisades Avenue, we were able to do that by putting these friggin' bump outs. Because I want to see how this works out when we're snow plowing this year, when we got mounds of snow and the guys got to plow, not knowing that we put an effing 3-foot curb extension out there, and he's plowing along, boom. That's not going to be good. And also the people who are trying to drive along, they don't see these friggin' bump outs that we put there. And the whole idea was to cut down the length between each sidewalk. If that extra 6 foot is that important to you, maybe Jersey City and any city life isn't for you. Maybe you should just stay on the effing sidewalk and just stay on that side of the city. Don't cross any street. If that 6 foot is the difference between you and living, now you shouldn't be here. But that's what we're doing now. Same thing with the protected bike lanes. We can't ride a bike unless it's protected. I did this when I was like 8 years old. I rode all over Jersey City, in Kearney, into North Arlington. We explored all over. We had to get home when the can company lights went on. There was a big company where, the can called Lofts. It was the can company. When the big red lights went on, we had to get home. But after school, me and the guys, we were all over the place on our bikes. Like 8, 10 years old. We were in Journal Square, we were in Kearney, we were in North Arlington, wherever we were going that day. And there were no protected bike lanes. There were no ABS brakes. There were no sensors on the cars. It was just you, the bike, the car, and the driver. And we all seemed to make it work. We all made it home every night. And it wasn't like we got to the door, Mom wrapped her arms around you, thank God, like you're coming back from war. No, we were just out on our bikes. But we were able to do this all the time without government interference, without inconveniencing the people in various neighborhoods, without losing parking. How is it now that these snowflakes, and I mean, these are adult snowflakes, they can't ride an effing bike unless there's a protected bike lane. Or the one that I really like where we just paint the stripes, that's going to save you or something. But that makes them feel safer. I'm going to ride my bike in between this 2-foot stripe. Come on. Is this what we became? I guarantee you all these snowflakes that are pushing for this aren't from Jersey City. They came over from Brooklyn, Staten Island. Maybe not Staten Island. Staten Island's a lot like Jersey City. Staten Island should become Jersey. We should annex that. I'm sure Manhattan, Queens, outside of Spider-Man, probably a lot of snowflakes in Queens, certainly in Brooklyn, except for Steve Rogers. Manhattan. You notice there's no superheroes in Manhattan because they're all snowflakes in Manhattan. This is what we've become. And they constantly cry, and people like Mayor Fulop and our elected leaders, and listen, I'm going to tell you, if you got these elected leaders, to be honest with you, they would say, no, we don't need bike lanes. We don't want to listen to these snowflakes. But we try to appease everyone. When you try to appease everyone, you appease no one. And that's what happened. Again, going back to the people at MLK Drive, they actually stood up to the city and said, no, we don't want your friggin' bike lanes here. No, we don't want you turning our streets into one-ways. No, we don't want you here. Get out. We don't want your ideas. We don't want your stupid infrastructure department here. You know why? Because there's no snowflakes on MLK. We got snowflakes. We got them in Jersey City. And we got some of these people at Panda. And it's a shame what's become here. Yeah, for a city that was blue collar, tough group of people in Jersey City, but they're fair, they were hardworking, they were community minded, all about God, country, and family. I don't think we have that now, especially with these snowflakes. Now, if you need to be on a protected bike lane, or if you need those 3-foot bump outs so you can cross the street, there's something freaking wrong with you. I got 2 bad knees, and I'm hoping I get taken care of in September, and I can still cross an effing street without a bump out. If I can do it, you friggin' snowflakes should be able to do it. But no, we want the bump outs. No, we need these protected bike lanes. Oh, we need traffic calming devices in the streets. What you need is to stay out of the streets. The streets are dangerous. Don't go in the streets, especially if you're a friggin' snowflake. If you can't figure out how to cross a street. And another thing, when I was a kid, we didn't have crosswalks. They didn't start that until much later. We knew where the corner was. That's a corner. That's where we crossed. We didn't need these white lines. We managed to do it. Now you got to have the white lines. Now they want traffic calming devices. They want shark teeth. They want speed. Well, Steve and his friggin' stupid Steve bumps. Yeah, they're not speed bumps. They're Steve bumps. They're much higher than your regular speed bump. They're so high that they'll rip off your exhaust system. When Steve first put those in, I remember going after Steve, said, you got to cut these things down. They were like friggin' mountains there on the street. Then he had to go down and grind these down a bit. But they're still way high. But he was like, we're going to slow things down. Slow what down? How fast are you driving in Jersey City? Can you speed on Kennedy Boulevard? No. Maybe at 2 o'clock in the morning you can. But right now, try to go speed on Kennedy Boulevard. Between the traffic and the terribly timed lights, I would love to meet the guy that times the friggin' lights on Kennedy Boulevard. I'm sure this is like some mad scientist guy in a friggin' basement with one of those laughs. Like, I will just screw up all your traffic. Yes, this light will be green. This light will be red. No, they should both be green so the traffic friggin' moves. And obviously, they enjoyed 36th Street by the Kennedy Center. What was this? With the Sears? Oh, man, you want to talk about messing up traffic there, where they put the underground road in, and whoever timed the lights up there, again, it's diabolical. There's something, whoever that person is, it's close to Satan in hell, because whoever times these lights did a horrible job. But what we need to do, we need to stand up to Philip and his infrastructure people and the stupid-ass bike people who need these bike lanes. Again, you and I grew up in the city. We rode bikes. We had no bike lanes. We were able to communicate just by line of sight with the cars because we drove against traffic, and we all made it. We were able to cross the street. I remember being able to cross the street without hands telling me, yes, come, go, timers and all that. I was able to cross the street without that. But now you got to have that also. I got the hand telling me to come, hands telling me to stop. We didn't have this when I was a kid, but we all made it. I don't know how. All right, we'll break for commercial. Any snowflakes? Too bad if I offended you. When we come back, we'll talk about candidate Spiels and Steve Colbert. We'll be right back.
Panapinto Properties, Jersey City, shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces and addresses your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment, adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panapintodevelopment.com. Panapinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Good Friend Self-Storage in Northburg, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self-Storage. Let us be your good friend.
We're back. You listen to the City Show here, Pat O'Melia. I hope I offended some snowflakes. I hope I did. For that matter, when I post the link, I'll put it attention snowflakes, at snowflakes. Candidate spiel. Now, I've gone back. I go back with Philip since he first appeared on the steps with Glenn Cunningham. I guess that's about 2002, I suppose, when he ran for Congress. I've been there for his 2 terms as councilman. I've been there for his 3 terms as mayor. I think for the most part, Steve has done a pretty good job. Again, I don't agree with everything Steve said or has done, but for the most part, he's done a pretty good job. There's a reason my house on Congress Street's worth like $1.5 million. Steve Full. But that sword is too double-edged, you know? There's some good things Steve's done, some bad things Steve's done. Bike lanes are one of the bad things. If you listen to the candidates' spiels, whether they're running for a mayor or they're running for a council seat, you would think Jersey City is a hellhole where nothing works and everything's terrible. Yeah, it's amazing the candidates, and some of these guys who know Steve or are friends with Steve, bring up these things, the problems with Jersey City. We have very few problems. You know, we have a housing problem only because we keep inviting people from Brooklyn and Manhattan and Queens into Jersey City. We're not developing for people who live in Jersey City. We're developing for people out of Jersey City. That's one of the problems. You know, when none of these affordable units, none of these market rates are being built for Jersey City people. They're being built for people who aren't here yet. We have a school problem. When you have, like in Journal Square area, like 15, 16 high rises, I don't know, probably maybe 15,000 units of housing, and not one school. Just think, if just half of those 15,000 apartments just had one kid, that's 7,500 kids that have to go to school. That's a lot of schools. You know, Dickinson's like 3,500 students. So you need at least 2 Dickinsons. And we don't want to build schools that big anymore. We don't want schools that can handle more than like 1,000, 1,200 kids. Where are all these kids going? So that's one of the things Fulop should have said to all the developers. Listen, because we have the Affordable Trust Fund, we should have had the school fund also. And not just depend on a state to build the schools. You know, most of the schools you see in Jersey City pretty much built during Frank Hague. Yeah, he got what money could from the state. Frank Hague was an amazing mayor of Jersey City. He knew how to work Roosevelt. That's how he built Medical Center and City Hall. He built most of your schools. Yeah, there was never a question. You had schoolyards. And remember, the population of Jersey City was bigger than it is now. Much bigger than it is now. We had schoolyards. Kids could go to school. We don't have that anymore. That is one of the things that I think that's a failure of Steve Fulop, that we don't have more school space. Even though we say the state should do that, the city should get involved. Affordable housing, I think I talked about it last week. Affordable housing, that should be something between the federal government, the state, the municipality, and the county to work on like they used to. For some reason, we got away from that. But if you listen to these candidates and the spiels they come up with, and they're talking about how financially troubled Jersey City is, Jersey City financially, you know, Fulop is keeping all the balls in the air, and he's done a good job of it for the last 12 years. Hopefully, who the next mayor is, he can catch those balls before they hit the desk, but we're not in bad shape. We need to really do a reset. And like I said before, any programs we had 20 years ago is where we should start. Anything we implemented going back 20 years, that we have to look at. Steve Colbert. You know Steve Colbert. He's got the Late Show. He took it over from David Letterman. He had been canceled. And there are many who believe the reason he got canceled was the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Colbert has been a critic of Donald Trump first term and into this term, and he loves nothing more than talking bad about the President of the United States, Donald Trump. Well, Colbert was canceled, and there's a big uproar over that. Here's the thing with Steve Colbert. I remember him with Comedy Central. He was funny. He is very good comedian, good writer. He was one of the writers on Jon Stewart's show. Then he got the Late Show. And somehow Colbert, over a span of time, became mean. Now, Carson and Letterman and Leno, they all did political humor, but they weren't mean about it. Colbert was. Colbert, he reveled in any problems that Donald Trump had, or the Republicans. Colbert was losing $40 to $50 million a year. He was having a problem attracting advertisers. Now, CBS may have put up with that during the Democratic political with Biden and Obama and that sort of thing. But they weren't going to do it again through Trump. They were going to lose $40 to $50 million. Probably with the Democrats. If we're talking politics here, maybe the Democrats were backloading CBS with funneling money in one way or another. You know, they finally just stopped funding public radio and national broadcasting. Why the government is funding any media outlets makes no sense to me. But I think what happened, now if you want to say Trump did it, okay, maybe Trump made a phone call and said, listen, get rid of Colbert. But in Colbert's case, when you live by that political sword, and he lived by the political sword on that show, you will eventually die by the political sword. And now I know he has a problem. He just told the president to go F himself. Hey, listen, you got thin skin there, Colbert. But probably the biggest bottom line was losing $40 or $50 million a year. Now, just a couple of days before CBS announced they were canceling Colbert 8 months from now, he went on a riff over a settlement of a lawsuit between the President Donald Trump and CBS, where CBS agreed to pay $16 million to Trump. And Colbert attacked CBS. Yeah, you start attacking your boss and you see what happens. So there is a merger coming up between CBS and Skydance is one of the other companies that is waiting for federal sign-off for the merger to be approved. They didn't need to be attacked, CBS, by Colbert. And the future owners of The Late Show said, I'm not putting up with this. And we're not losing $40 or $50 million to do this. So they pulled the trigger on him. If it was an out-and-out termination, and again, if Trump did it, he wouldn't be there for another 8 months. Trump would have said he's got to go. This is a financial situation. The only thing that's going to happen if you're Donald Trump, this guy is going to be unhinged for the next 8 months going after you. But if you look at the late-night television as a whole, the Tonight Show with Fallon, I don't think they'll ever cancel the Tonight Show. It's iconic on NBC. But they've cut him down from 5 nights a week to 4 nights a week. Steph Myers, they did a lot of budget cuts on his show. They got rid of Steph Myers' band. They took a lot of the peripheral stuff that Steph Myers did. Jimmy Kimmel, you know he's on the clock. Actually, he's on vacation right now. I don't know if Jimmy Kimmel has a show to come back to. The late night all changed. You know, Carson, Leno, Letterman, you know, they did the political humor, but they were both sides of the coin, Democrats and Republicans, and it was humorous. But they didn't make a whole show out of it, as Colbert does. So he kind of put himself in his position. And if he didn't read the tea leaves, I'm sure he knew he was losing $40 or $50 million a year. Then he's not as smart as I thought. But it will be interesting to see what happens with Colbert. Will another network pick him up? Not when you're losing $40 or $50 million a year. See if he does a YouTube show. See how that works out for him. See if he can make a buck doing it. But as far as him getting canceled, not a surprise to me at all. Well, the only surprise is he's got 8 months to go. So if you're the president of the United States, Mr. Trump, expect a lot of pointed humor in your way. My buddy Raj Mukherji, he had proposed a legislation to convert the Jersey City Board of Education into an appointed board. And there was some pushback against that from the Jersey City Board of Education, for one, and the unions. So Raj is back down. Raj, you got to get a backbone, my man. You were right. We need an appointed board. The present board structure we have now is ridiculous. And it is almost appointed because it's pretty much the Board of Education, the union, that's calling the shots here in these elections. They got the money. We're looking at a Jersey City budget of over $1 billion a year. I'm looking at grammar schools. The grammar school I spoke about before, where I was a patrol boy, that costs $58 million a year to operate. That is friggin' ridiculous, $58 million a year. There's a problem when we're spending $36,000 a student to educate them. We need to get an appointed board. We need to get in to get some forensic accounting. Like I said, as I said many times, I would take the teacher salaries right off the table. Then I want to know where every nickel is going. And until we get an appointed board there, where the city has say and sway in what happens with the school system, because that's a third of your tax bill. And they all keep going back. Oh, this they had to take over the school once before. We put safeguards in there. Make sure you get competent people instead of political hacks on the Board of Education. But Raj should have stayed, should have held his ground, because that's what Jersey City needed. All right, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to The City Show. I'll be right back.
Comprehensive healthcare is here, here, and here. RWJ Barnabas Health is healing, enhancing, and investing in Hudson County with its 2 newest locations, Hoboken and Exchange Place. Within walking distance or accessible by mass transit, our locations combine convenience with primary and specialty care, including cardiology, women's health, orthopedics, cancer care, and more. Let's be healthy together.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net.
We're back. You're listening to Pat O'Melia here on The City Show. I should have done this early in the show. The demise of Central Avenue. It's not a pretty sight going down Central Avenue anymore. We lost so many of the decent stores. C.H. Martin's is gone. DD's, or D2 as you now know it, is gone. Rainbow is going to be soon gone. Central Avenue was cycled through the dollar stores. Remember the dollar stores were all over the place, and nail salons. Now it's cell phone stores. Soon to be weed stores. You have weed shops all over. We're going to have like 5 weed shops or 6 weed shops on Central Avenue. They're not all going to be successful. It is amazing what has occurred. And the other thing that's popular now in Central, pharmacies and sneaker stores. We got a lot of sick people in the Heights because we got a lot of pharmacies on Central Avenue. But it's amazing when you look at some of the old-time stores, Bond Drug, Jersey Drug, Tommy's, the Blimpie Base, King's, I think King's, the doors was down the last week or so. Stop and Shop, Slumberia, that's like the number 1 sandwich shop in the state. I'm a Blimpie guy. Novak's. We need to study Bergen Line Avenue to find out why they're so successful. And Central Avenue is a hellhole, and it is becoming a hellhole. Just if you can, pay attention when you're stuck in traffic, you'll see what it has become. Actually, I want to follow up on this more on the next show. Cash on hand, Jimmy Mack has $2 million cash on hand for his mayoral run. Billy O'Day's got 1.2. Solomon's got 1.2. Joyce Waterman's got 35,000. Ali's got 29, almost 300,000. But Jimmy Mack has raised $4 million. I'd like to know what he did with the first $2 million. Where did you spend the first $2 million? I didn't see it anywhere. All right, listen, we're at a show. You be good. You be safe. I'll talk to you next week. Good night.